I look at a road like this and go, wow, hand me a sports car with some sticky tires and I'll be good to go. And then you look at a car like the Panamera and you're like, how am I supposed to take that on this? Well, I'll show you. What's going on, people? Today we're going to be reviewing the 2021 Porsche Panamera GTS, and you're back on Beat Harold's Cars. This thing is absolutely insane. It has 473 horsepower and 457 pound-feet of torque from a 4-liter twin-turbo V8. A few first things off the bat, automatically you can tell that the throttle's super sensitive, those brakes are super sensitive, and I'm going to get into that immediately. The reason those brakes are so good and so sensitive is because these are Porsche's carbon ceramic brakes for 10 pistons in the front and 4 pistons in the rear. This GTS model, the latest outgoing one specifically, actually has 20 more horsepower than the previous year's model. Now, there's a few more things that I want to talk about the engine. Now, obviously, this is not the turbo. This is the GTS, like I said before, and I think I prefer this model a little bit more. This is almost Porsche's sweet spot, if you will. The Turbo S and the Turbo SE Hybrid both have an insane amount of power, but on a B road like this, and even just in general, it almost feels unusable. The GTS is kind of that golden sweet spot that you need. Talking about tires, there are 315s in the rear and 275s in the front, and Porsche has wrapped the GTS in Michelin Pilot Sport 4Ss. And I also love that they decided to put a big tire size in the front. Now, the GTS is actually equipped with Porsche's Sport exhaust, and it sounds absolutely amazing. Take a listen. I don't know how you would want the 6-cylinder version of the Panamera. Not saying that car doesn't have enough power, it definitely does, but once you get in the GTS model, I guarantee you're not going to go back. So this car actually has the 8-speed Pdk transmission, and as you can hear with those gears, it's instant changing. Driving on a B road like this, the car literally sticks on every corner I point it at. I don't have to work extra hard to kind of correct understeer or oversteer. Hit point and you go. Moving on from the engine, some things I like about the exterior of this car are just like some M cars, and no, I'm not comparing this to a BMW. All I'm saying is that the sides of the mirrors, or right below the mirrors, have that little gap for the air to pass through. Little things like that are just something that Porsche does, and I do really appreciate it. Moving over to the rear of the car, you can see that Porsche has this wing, and there's a video right here that shows it going up and down, or spoiler, whatever you want to call it. And that's something that Porsche decided to design specifically in order to maintain the entire exterior of this car. Moving on to the interior of this vehicle, the Alcantara steering wheel, which is actually an option by Porsche to have it fully wrapped in Alcantara, feels amazing to the touch. Look, when you're driving spiritedly, we all know sometimes those palms can get a little sweaty. This fixes the problem within a second. Also on the steering wheel, you have some nice matte carbon fiber and some nice metal that's put throughout the center controls. Moving on to the paddles, as you can see here, they're fully metal. And yes, and I mean fully metal, not some plastic panels that have like a fake chrome finish. These are very heavy paddles, and they feel heavy and cool to the touch. So this model specifically is actually equipped with the Burmester high-end 3D surround sound system. That was a mouthful, wow. But it has 21 speakers throughout the cabin, over 1,400 watts, and the music on here, no matter what song you're listening to, it sounds like an absolute symphony. The seats are also super comfortable, the bolstering is really nice, and something else that Porsche did really well is the contrast stitching. Now, I know I've talked about contrast stitching on some other vehicles that I've reviewed, but Porsche does every stitch exactly the same, and you can see it and feel it. Moving throughout the front of the cabin, you have that Porsche sub-second clock, which this model, it's actually blacked out, and I really like that. These seats feel absolutely amazing. The way they hold you in with the bolstering, the contrast stitching, the headrest, everything is super comfortable. If I do have a complaint about them, they might be a little firm, but they do the job. They're 18-way power seats, so they're extremely adjustable. The lumbar is really good, and the side bolstering specifically holds you in well. Moving over to the rear seats of the GTS, this model actually only has 4 seats. It's not a 5-seater, and I kind of like that. As you can see here, you have that whole center console. This one's equipped with the smoker's pack, so if you move up the armrest, you can see that there, and there's also a whole rear infotainment screen. Look, at the end of the day, the GTS is going to be driven extremely spiritedly, or spiritedly for the most part, and the fact that Porsche put those rear seats back there is definitely a must. The trunk space here in the Panamera GTS is definitely on the smaller side compared to a lot of its rivals, but look, are you really going to be buying this car to pack a bunch of stuff in the trunk? I get it's a 4-seater, I get it's a great car to take on road trips, but I think at the end of the day, the main demographic for this car is not going to be complaining too much about that trunk size. Currently at the moment, I'm not even going that fast, and every corner feels like it's doing it with ease. I'm not touching the brake at all, and the car is just sticking to every single corner. There's also some really cool materials on the sides of the doors. There's brushed aluminum, there's that contrast stitching, and it all flows really well. And yes, I've noticed I've used the word well a lot. I do want to talk about this transmission because it changes instantly. Take a listen. The transmission is absolute madness. The gear changes are so instant.
That's nice out. Rack it up, I got a bit of the bank that make me a safe house. Shake it up, she got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out. Smoke it up, I got some gas, some packs, I'm up in the greenhouse. Pull it up, I'm with the game, we taking shots off the rebound. Look at my pulse, the same now. I've been humble too long, yeah. Tell them all to stay calm, yeah. Tell them all to move on, yeah. Look at my pulse, the same now. They be lost in the sauce. Took a loss, that's your loss. Had to get my point across. Heard them lasers talking now that we don't pay that no mind. They didn't need to watch, so know that I'll be here in no time. Put a camera on it at the time, they can blow my lights, camera, action, hey, smoking that dope from Redman. We the new meth in Redman. We ain't rubbing up, but we bright drinks. Run up a check and it's pending. She talking my news, what's in them? The fam, you a dead man. Jesus, please, on my pendant. And we still independent.
Thank you so much for watching another episode of Be Heroes Cars. Remember to like, subscribe, put those notifications on. And if you want to see more cool content like this, make sure to follow up. I'll see you guys next time on Be Heroes Cars.